Hello, this is Coach Sparks, and this is the second video on creating our Endless Runner project. The first video, we just created the actual project and got to this point here. And so in this video, we're going to actually set up our Endless Runner character, our game mode, set up our folder structure, and go through that process and get our character actually moving forward. So we're going to start with that on this video. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is if your project looks similar to this, we're going to be expanding this icon right here out, and that will allow us to be able to see our entire file structure. The first thing we want to do is go to the edit menu up here, and we're going to go down to the editor preferences, and I usually do this for every new project that I work on. And right down here in the accessibility user interface under asset editor open location, I'm going to change that to main window, and that will actually just cause each thing that we open up in the future will automatically tab itself like this instead of just opening up in a random location. So you can go ahead and close that out after you switch that over to main window. And this little icon here will toggle your vertical file structure here. So this tells you what current folder you're in, and then anything subfolders or files that are contained in that. So you'll see as we move through that this will have like a little trail that goes through there in each folder. You can click back into those as you need to. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and set up our file structure, and so we're going to create a new folder. And so you just right click in the empty space here in our content folder and choose new folder. And I'm going to choose, call this EndlessRunner. Okay. And we're going to color code this. And so if I go to set color, we'll go to new color. And I already have a few colors set up here, so I'm just going to show you real quickly how to do that. Is to get this green color, you can basically take the red and the blue channel, which is signified by the R and the B, and the G is for your green, and I made this one like 2.25, which gives us this darker green color here, which is what I had drag up here. Now to save a color, you can actually drag these, left click and drag these up here and just drop them on this section right here, and that will save the color for use later. So we're just going to pick that one and make that color green. And so then we're going to open this one up. So just double click that, you'll notice it's green over here, and now we are in our Endless Runner section right here. So content, Endless Runner. So all of our files we're going to use will be inside this main folder here. So this will be our main working folder, and it's easily identifiable by the color from this side over here. So the next thing we do is add a couple more folders right quick. So we're going to right click, new folder, and we'll call this one Blueprints. And mine already turned green or blue because I had been testing this out a little bit, but you can right click, set color, and you could set this blue color, which looking at it here, this blue color is 0 on the red, 0 on the green, and 0.25 on the blue. So pretty much the same as the green. You just zero these values out, and it gives you like a pure blue. And you can see on the slider here how this gives you a darker color. And again, you can just left click with this little hand, drag them over here, and that will save them for you. So we'll go ahead and OK that. And then inside our Blueprints folder, we'll open that up, and we'll make 2 additional folders, and that'll be all the folders for this video session. We're going to right click, choose new folder, and this one's going to be called Characters. Okay, and Characters mine's pull up green. You can choose and go ahead and set that one to green because we're going to be working in our character for probably the most of our initial work will be inside the character, at least for the first couple of videos, and give it a green color. And also we're going to create an additional folder called Game Mode. So okay, and one important point, if you notice that the Endless Runner folder starts with a capital E and a capital R for each new word. and there's no spaces, so you do not want to use spaces in your naming conventions, especially in programming. Doesn't really like spaces very much. As you can see, all the other ones that are pre-made follow the same suit. This is called camel casing. So each new word, if you had 3-4 words, you would capitalize each new word and not have any spaces when you're naming things like variables, folders, blueprint classes, functions, things like that. You always want to leave no spaces at all, and you can just capitalize each new word. Makes it easier to read and find. That's just the way programming works. So the next thing we'll want to do is we're going to kind of expand this down here by clicking these little arrows, and anytime you see one of these little arrows, that means that there is additional information inside that folder, so you can expand that down to see it. We're going to go down here to the third person BP folder. It may look like that. If you just click it, it will become the folder over here, and as long as you can still see these, that's what we need to do. So we're going to go into blueprints, and you should see a third person character and a third person game mode. So we're going to just copy this third person character because it has a lot of the functionality we need is already set up inside of it with the animation, blueprints, and movement, so we don't have to go through and do all that. But we will be making our own game mode. So the easy way to make a duplicate copy of this character, just in case we mess the character up or something goes wrong, we will have this character to go back to and reference and just make more copies and use it. So the easiest way we're going to take it and copy it over to this folder, and the way you do that, you'll see the little hand icon show up there. We're just going to left click, drag it, and you'll see the little green, it says move or copy third person character. So we're going to say let go of the mouse, and we're going to say copy here. So we're going to make a copy this time, and it will tell us that one asset has been copied. So the next thing we want to do is open this folder up, and like I was telling you, this folder structure here allows us to go back. So if I wanted to go back to EndlessRunner, I can just easily click that. I will open it up for me, go back and forth. So we'll go back in our character, and we're going to rename this character, and you'll notice this little icon right here means that it has not been saved. So anytime you see the little asterisk on anything, such as right up here at the top, that tells you that it's not been saved. So we want to make sure that we save these things. So to rename this, we just left click on it and get this orange highlight. That means that it is selected. And the fastest way to rename something is to press the F2 key. That's the function 2 key on the top of your keyboard. So we'll just call this runner base. And once we do that, you'll notice that it actually saved itself. So that takes care of that part. So we'll get back into this character here in just a minute, but we're going to go over to our game modes folder. So if you want to navigate to your game modes folder, you can click that. It will jump over to that, and we're going to create our game mode and set our character we just copied and created. We're going to make that the default character that we use. Okay, so we're going to right click in here, and we're going to look for blueprint class. So you're going to be using this particular area quite a bit. So just remember where you go, right click. This will pull up menus for searching for certain things in most of the applications in this program. So go to blueprint class, and these are your common classes here: actor, pawn, character, player controller, game mode base. What we'll probably be using most of all will be actor, and we'll use the game mode at least initially. So we're going to take the game mode base. That's what we want. And you'll see it says here that it defines the game being played, its rules, scoring, and other facets of the game type. So this will control a lot of the things inside how the game actually is played. So we'll click game mode base. It will create us a new one, and we'll make sure we're going to say this is going to be EndlessRunner game mode. And I'm using camel casing, as you can see. And that pretty much will be our game mode. So now what I want you to do is go ahead and double click this, and you'll get this screen here, and you'll notice at the top it says class defaults. So what we want to do is we'll want to go over here to the right hand side where it says default pawn class, and we're going to change this from the default pawn to our runner base character here. So if you click default pawn class, click this little drop down, these are all the options you have. We want runner base, that's the one we just created. Okay, once you do that, that's pretty much all we need to do in here for now. We're going to go here to the compile button, and there's a little arrow that's right beside of it, so we're going to click that, and if you go down you'll see it says save on compile, and you want to choose the option always. If it's on never, just don't go down here, click always, that way it will always save your work when you press compile, even if you have errors or anything else, or everything crashes, so you don't want to lose any of your work unnecessarily. When you see this little icon here that just says, the little tooltip says it's dirty and needs to be recompiled, that means that there's been changes made since it was last compiled. And when you compile it, it just takes your code and it converts it over to language that the computer can understand and understand how to actually run your program. So we'll click the compile button. You should get a green check mark. That means everything compiled correctly. Doesn't mean that your code will actually work the way you think it will. It just means it didn't find any syntax errors or anything like that was wrong with the code structure. So doesn't mean it'll work the way it's supposed to, just means there's no errors that it detected. Okay, so then you can close this game mode out. And one other thing we need to do before we can start working on our character and begin testing is go to the project settings and tell our project to use this game mode instead of the third-person game mode that it comes with. So it's going to default to the third-person game mode, and we want it to use this one instead. So we're going to go back up here to the settings button in the center and go to project settings. And in project settings, we want to go down over here on the left to maps and modes. And what we want to do there is change this default game mode. If yours looks like this here, just expand that out. You'll notice that it does say third person game mode. We want to click that, and we want to go down here to where it says EndlessRunner game mode. So that's our game mode that we just created. So we want to do that. You'll notice default pawn class is runner base. So that's what we need. You do not have to make any saves in here. It saves everything automatically in the project settings or the editor preferences. So we'll click that off. You notice our map is still has a little asterisk there, so we can go ahead and hit save all. And anytime you hit save all, this is a good button to always press to make sure that anything that might not be saved, it will automatically save it. So we're gonna, anything checked here, we just hit save selected, and that should take care of that. Okay, now if we were to test, if we were to test our game now, it will use the third person character that's already in there. So this is not the character that we have. So this is the character that is on your screen. So if we, to get rid of this, we want it to use our character over here at the player start. So we're just going to click this character here. Should see this little window. That's what the camera actually sees. So it's a little preview when you just place it out on the level. And we're just going to press the delete key to delete this character. And it will not delete the blueprint out of the project, only off of the level where it's placed. So now, hopefully, when we press the play button, it should spawn our character right over here at this player start, which is across on this gray box here. So let's see if that works. So sure enough, there we are. We are running over here, and that's what we intended to happen. So that takes care of that part. So if that worked correctly, then everything you've done so far is working. So the next thing we want to do is we'll want to go into our character blueprint. So go back one, go into your characters, and we'll double click to open this character base up. Okay, inside here, this is your event graph. This is where you'll do all your code to control everything, and you'll notice that there's a lot of code already in here. Some of this stuff here we're not going to need for this particular project, so we're going to go ahead and delete that, and I'll show you how to do that. So you can scroll in and out, zoom in and out with the center mouse wheel. Just roll it forward to zoom in, roll it backwards towards you to zoom out. And you'll notice that it has comments when you roll out to see it. So we're going to go first of all to just press R to reset VR orientation. We're not using VR, so we don't need that. So we're just going to go in here. We don't want to leave any unnecessary code in our project just to get in the way. So here it says this is a comment box that just kind of tells what this code here is actually doing. This box really doesn't do anything other than just give you information and kind of help organize things. So to get rid of this whole thing, we can delete it, and the easy way to do that, to do multiple things, is if you just left click on your screen and hold the mouse button down and then just drag, you'll get a box, and wherever you place your mouse cursor, that's where the box will start, and wherever you end, that's where it will end. And everything here, you'll notice that this is selected, this is selected, this is selected by this orange outline. And then to get rid of it, we can just press the delete key on your keyboard, and that takes care of that part. If you will scroll back out, and to move around in here with the little handle, you can just right click and hold the mouse button down, and that will allow you to be able to move and drag things around. Okay, so down here at the bottom where it says touch input, we're not going to be using touch input. That's for a mobile project. So if you're using for a mobile phone or an iPad or tablet or something, this would be, you would use some of these things. So we're not going to need it, so we're just going to delete it. So same process, left click, drag, and then delete. Okay, the other part that we don't need for this particular project, since it is an endless runner and we don't need our character to be looking around, this portion of code here allows you, as you move your mouse around, to look up, down, left, and right. And I'll just kind of briefly show you how that works. If we look here, if I'm moving my mouse, this is what our camera does. So that particular part of the code allows me to do this. So in an endless runner, we're only going to be behind our character. The camera's not really going to move around or pan, so we don't really need this particular part. So we're going to delete that. In a normal third-person RPG, open world, something like that, this would be left in there, but not for this particular project. So we're just going to drag and select that and delete it. Now we can go ahead and move our jump code up, and the easy way to move a group, you can select them and move them, or you can just click on the comment box and move the whole everything in the comment around. So that's kind of handy. All right, we're going to leave the gamepad input just in case we want to test it with the gamepad, so we won't worry about getting rid of that. Here in your movement, we only want our character to move forward on its own. So this is where it would move left or right, and this would let your character currently move forward and backwards. So we only want our character to move straight forward. So we're going to eliminate this particular node here, the input axis move forward. So we're just going to click it and delete it. Now our character will not be able to move forward at all until we set it up. So our scale value is the speed at which our character will move. All this information here is getting the way the character is rotated and figure out which way is forward for it, and then it will move in that direction. So we're going to use a tick event. So if you just right click in here and really quickly, you'll get this little search box. So this is how you'll add things, one way you'll add things to your code. So we're going to just type in the word tick, T-I-C-K, and you'll see event tick. Okay, so events have a red bar on the top. That means that something triggers this to happen when you jump, or this. In this particular place, event tick means that every frame every time a frame happens in the game, this event will happen. So it will run this code each time, every frame. So other ones are controlled by moving, pressing the jump button, different things like that. So this is what happens when our tick event will cause our character to move forward at a constant speed every tick. So we'll look and see how that works. Make sure that we did it correctly. So when we spawn here, our character should go ahead and start moving forward, and sure enough, he does. And that's a little close, so we want to take our player start, which is this little icon right here. Get my mouse on it, and the way you can move these around, you'll see these little arrow keys, or the little arrows pointing to the red is the x-axis, the y is the green is the y, and in the blue is the z or up and down axis. So we're going to move this direction, So I want to kind of move this over this way. And maybe kind of move up. And I'll show you how to actually do that controls in a minute. So we'll move it over here. And then we'll press play again. And now our character is running. Got a little bit more place to run. So he'll run until he runs into that wall and stop. Okay. So real quick, final lesson on this is how do you move around in your editor to just pan around and look up or down, left and right, and zoom around. If you hold the right mouse button while you're in this level screen, that will allow you to just pan around up or down. The left mouse button will let you pan. If you just go side to side, it'll let you pan side to side. If you move your mouse forward, it will actually move forward. If you drag your mouse backwards, it will drag you backwards. It won't move side to side. If you press and hold both mouse buttons down, left and right, at the same time, you can move up, down, left, right, but you can't move forward. So you can move up or down holding both, and you can move left or right. You just can't pan. So when you pan, you can pan with one of the other buttons. Either one will pan you. Right mouse button will let you look up and down. Both will let you move up and down. The left mouse button only will let you go forward and backwards, and it will also allow you to be able to pan around, so you can actually just kind of move this direction, but the only problem is you kind of have to move your mouse back around. So one other way that's easy is you can use your keyboard controls. So if you hold the right mouse button and you use the W key, will move forward, S will move you backwards, A will move you left, D will move you right, Q will move you down, and E will move you up. So you can use those as well to move around the scene. So sometimes that makes it easier. So that pretty much takes care of this particular video. So we'll be doing some more work in our character, creating a little test set up to where we can get our character to turn left or right when we might hit a corner. So if we were running down here, we wanted to turn a corner, and of course we want to be able to give our character that ability. So that'll be in our next video. We'll see you then.